The Galactic Council chamber was filled with tension, thick and palpable, as the debate over the impending conflict with the Escalran hive raged on. Delegates from dozens of species, some known for their military prowess, others for their strategic minds, sat in their assigned sections, arguing back and forth over whether to commit to full-scale war. Hovering holograms of star systems and battle projections filled the room, each species contributing their own calculations and potential strategies. At the center of it all sat the human ambassador, Commander Jane Castillo. Her face was impassive, though her eyes betrayed a depth of emotion that the others couldn't quite understand. Her silence amidst the cacophony of voices had not gone unnoticed. Many of the other species were watching her closely, waiting for her to speak. Humans, after all, were relatively new to the Council, but their reputation as Deathworlders, beings from a planet considered hostile even by galactic standards, had spread quickly. Stories of human endurance, their tactical prowess, and their ability to adapt had made them a respected and feared species in many parts of the galaxy. But today, the humans had been oddly quiet. Finally, it was the Trescari delegate who broke the growing silence. His insectoid eyes glinted as he fixed his gaze on the human ambassador. Ambassador Castillo, your people have a reputation for effectiveness in battle. Yet, you have remained silent during this discussion. Do humans not seek to join this war? Are you hesitant to commit your forces? The chamber quieted, all eyes turning to Castillo. Her silence, coupled with the alien's pointed question, had placed a weight on her shoulders she could no longer avoid. Castillo rose slowly from her seat, her figure composed but undeniably tense. Her voice, when it came, was calm, but there was a gravity in her tone that immediately commanded attention. You're right, she said, looking directly at the Trescari. Humans are effective in battle. We've fought wars on our world for as long as we've recorded history, conflicts that have shaped the very fabric of our societies. We've learned the art of war, perfected it in some ways. But you ask why we've remained silent, why we haven't rushed to join this war like some of you seem so eager to do. Her eyes swept across the room, locking onto the faces of the other delegates, some of whom were watching her with suspicion, others with curiosity. The truth is, she continued, humans are afraid of war. A murmur rippled through the chamber. Some species, like the Rakshans, a warrior race known for their brutal combat culture, exchanged looks of confusion. The Trescari clicked their mandibles, puzzled. Fear of war. From the species who had made a name for themselves as survivors, as relentless Deathworlders? Ambassador Castellos held up her hand, signaling for silence. Let me clarify, she said, her voice steely. We're not afraid to fight. When backed into a corner, we will fight harder and longer than most. That's something history has taught us. But we also know the cost of war better than most of you can imagine. Her expression darkened, a look of distant pain crossing her features. Our planet has been through wars that have wiped out entire civilizations, conflicts that have devastated our ecosystems, reduced cities to rubble, and left generations scarred by trauma. We've lived through centuries where every inch of land was stained with the blood of those who came before us. In our past, we built weapons capable of annihilating entire species, ourselves included. We've stood on the brink of extinction more times than I care to admit. Her words settled heavily in the chamber. Some of the delegates, especially those from species who had never faced war on such a devastating scale, began to shift uncomfortably in their seats. War, Castillo said, her voice quiet but carrying the weight of experience, is not something to rush into. It's not something to glorify. Because when the dust settles, it's not just the enemy who lies dead. It's your own people, innocent civilians, children, families. War is chaos. It's suffering. It's a sickness that spreads and consumes everything in its path. The Raxian warlord leaned forward, his tusks glinting in the artificial light. And yet, humans are renowned for your resilience in war. You say you fear it, but you thrive in it. Castillo's gaze sharpened, and for a moment, there was a flicker of something dangerous in her eyes. Thriving and surviving are two different things. Yes, we survive war. But don't mistake that for eagerness to fight. We fear war because we know what it does to us. We know how it changes us, how it breaks us. Every soldier who returns from battle carries the weight of those experiences for the rest of their lives. And that weight? It's heavy. She paused, letting her words sink in. Humans learned the hard way that war isn't just about victory. It's about loss. It's about the lives that will never be the same again. We understand that every conflict leaves scars not just on the battlefield, but on the hearts and minds of everyone involved. We understand that war has a price. And it's a price we don't pay lightly. The chamber fell into an uneasy silence. Many of the other delegates had never considered war from this perspective. For them, conflict was often seen as a means to an end, an unavoidable part of their political and territorial ambitions. But humans, they had a different understanding. War, to them, wasn't just a strategic option. It was a curse. Then why fight at all? The Treskari asked, his mandibles clicking softly. Castillo turned to him, her expression somber. Because sometimes, there's no other choice. We fight when the alternative is worse. When peace has failed, and survival is on the line. But make no mistake, if we go to war, we will bring everything we have. And we'll fight like we always have, because for us, it's not about glory or conquest. It's about making sure our people have a future. She took a deep breath and then spoke the words that hung in the air like a death knell. If you ask us to go to war, understand what that means. It means we will commit fully. It means we will do what needs to be done to win, no matter the cost. But don't think for a second that we want this war. We fear it because we know the price we'll have to pay, and once the blood starts flowing, it doesn't stop easily. The silence was deafening. The alien delegates sat in stunned contemplation, the weight of Castillo's words settling heavily upon them. For the first time, they understood. Humans, the species they thought of as fearless warriors, were afraid because they knew war in ways that most of the galaxy never would. Finally, one of the older delegates, a member of the peaceful Nihilith race, spoke up, her voice soft and thoughtful. Perhaps this is the lesson we needed to hear. Perhaps we should all fear war a little more. Ambassador Castillo nodded slowly, her eyes meeting those of the Nihilith. We should. Because war is not something you walk away from unscathed. Not even the victors. And with that, the chamber fell into a contemplative silence. The decision to go to war had not been made, but the gravity of what they were considering had never been clearer. Humans were indeed dangerous in war, but it was because they feared it, because they knew the cost, that they were perhaps the most dangerous of all.